Hello.
Hello,
Hello, everyone.
I can do it.
Welcome to DevKami 149. So today we had our user guest Sean, and we tried to do ASMR. Unfortunately, I really can't. I tried my
You need a
best.
better microphone.
It's just that I can't whisper to you guys. It's weird. I'm so sorry.
It's not that weird.
I mean, if I want to share secret, I would do it in a car park. I would do it in a car park, talk in a deep voice, not whisper.
Yeah,
If you
yeah,
get
that might
where
be a
this
good
come
idea.
from.
Like, we start talking.
But then
in a
your
deep
secret would be
voice.
public knowledge because anyone eavesdropping can hear it.
Yeah, it works for Deep Throat. It works for Watergate. It worked for the Washington Post. So yeah, so that's it. Let's start with a few things. As it turns out, we should talk event first. Even though we have a very eventful week. So yeah, we have a very eventful week. But let's start with event first, which ironically not really eventful. So we have an empty week until 16. So yeah, we literally had an empty week until Tech Up on Saturday, and that's about it.
Oh wait,
So-
well, it's not tech, but there's a 10/10 sale.
Oh yeah, there's a 10/10 sale. Yeah, don't get too.
Yeah, if you miss this one, you gotta wait for the next one.
11-11.
Yes, 11
But it's not
is a
every
big
month.
sale. Yes, 11 is the big one. 11 is the Asian. Apparently, it's the Asian
Single day.
Thanksgiving
They call
Black
it the
Friday
single
sale.
day.
Yeah, it's the
Do
Asian
you
Black
have
Friday.
any gadgets that you already are like in your cart and just waiting for 10/10 to arrive?
No, I mean I might.
I think the discount is just minuscule.
Yeah.
Well, because I'm looking at the MatePad 10.4
Uh-huh.
LTE version. Used to be,
Yeah.
I think it was introduced last year for 1399, but
Yeah.
on the sale it's about 1,099, so about 300.
Okay, that
ringgit
is
off.
not really. It's not a good price in a way that me had a new tablet out.
Yeah. Well,
So,
I'm
yeah.
looking for one that has LTE though. So this is the only
Yeah.
mid-range tablet aside from the S6, which is the S6 Lite with LTE, which is not officially available in Malaysia.
Yeah.
So this one is the only one that has LTE. That's why I'm still researching for others. But if Mi 5 had a tablet with LTE, then I'm probably
Mhm.
getting that. Otherwise, then this one is a good compromise. It doesn't have Google
Mhm.
Play services, but sometimes, like some people say that not having Google is actually a plus, right? That some people will
Yeah,
play
but
with
actually,
pay to not have
Xiaomi have access to Google actually.
No, the Huawei MatePad does not. And some
Oh,
people
yeah,
will
yeah,
say
yeah, yeah.
they will pay for not having Google at all because it
Really?
will track your everything.
Well, just
Well-
like the CCP doesn't track you.
Yeah, precisely right. All right. So tell us anything you actually plan to buy is interesting. In fact, we have something from Kickstarter. I think this is actually our. I'm going to add as a Kickstarter after this one. The first one, Alibaba Cloud is now appointed as the cloud service provider for the Malaysian government, which is interesting.
I actually knew that
but-
earlier before the news.
So what happened? Many people didn't. I do not know who actually noticed this, but Alibaba is one of the earlier cloud provider that actually set up data center down in Malaysia. Okay, maybe you just use the local data center, but
I think
They are the-
the rest actually has it, just that not as a public available as an
correct.
option.
So Alibaba Cloud is the one that actually sell it to say that we had local presence here. So these are options.
So that
Not my
means
favorite.
government data is inside Malaysian territory.
Correct, that's the point. But legally, I do not know about the legality.
I'm not
of
saying
it,
that
but
it changed, but from my
Yeah.
observation, the COVID lockdown thing actually made some of them more open to using cloud services, even including those outside of Malaysia.
Correct. So Alibaba Cloud also do some collaboration with local organization, including CIMB, Touch and Go, the team and all that lah. So yeah, put it this way, Alibaba Cloud start grow really big, even though AWS do the sale to outside Malaysia. So yeah. And also, when I was still in finance, doing fintech in the fintech company, this is very attractive because the data center is Malaysia, the data is Malaysia, so there's less risk. And this before Bank Negara actually had directive on data location rules, which I don't think do they actually make a decision on that yet? Anybody know?
I have no
Nope.
idea.
I guess
Okay,
swimming is
yeah, I'm
sharing
out
the
of-
screen so he doesn't see us shaking our heads.
Okay, so yeah. So I'm out of the fintech scene for a while, but next one. This is actually US carrier was hacked for a few years. As a result, it actually compromised the 2FA, two-factor authentication, if you use SMS-based two-factor authentication. So not much detail other than the fact that
I think our phone also doesn't validate the base station, right?
Correct.
If you're gonna do a
So-
man in the middle.
Correct. This is how oh my goodness. I don't remember there's this attack that's used by the US government.
Yeah,
Stingray.
if you set up like a
Stingray.
yeah
This
a
is how Stingray
mobile,
works.
a mobile broadcasting center, because
No,
you know how
Stingray.
white's yeah, but you know how cellular works, right? That's the reason why
Yeah.
it's called cellular. It's because each
Yes.
broadcast center is a cell, and then it's just like how internet works. You have like
Yeah.
it gets forwarded over through all of these base stations, and the
Yeah.
Stingray is like performs just like a normal cellular tower broadcasting station, and
Yeah.
the thing is our phones, they just connect to the station that has the strongest signal, and of course proximity. You have a base square law. Is if it's if it's closer to you, then the signal is stronger, and so your phone probably will get there. Will connect to the Stingray device, and because it's a man in the middle, they are able to see the data before it gets forwarded to the actual base station.
Correct. So this is why this is why I actually prefer.
This is why you should wrap your phone in tinfoil.
Put it inside the
I
microwave
prefer TOTP
when you're
based.
not using it.
TOTP based to FA whenever possible. Sometimes requirement, but I prefer type-based OTP, and type-based OTP are the one that used on your authenticator application software app, and also Google Authenticator before they use the application verification.
And this is also the reason why you should not go for 5G, because 5G goes inside the microwave. See? So microwave
confused.
ovens are 2.4G, protected against 2.4G. So if you put your phone inside, then it's protected.
Hey, isn't I gotta do this again.
Hey, don't teach people wrong things, though, bro.
Yes.
Hey, isn't the
It's
vaccine?
technically correct, you know.
Isn't we already 5G with 5G coverage it came with the vaccine?
I did not
No.
do speed tests on my body.
Yeah, when so that's why there are multiple percentages, right? 64%, 80%.
That's
It's
the-
actually it's not the vaccination rate; it's 5G coverage rate.
Okay, I'm going to move
Because yeah, okay.
on. I'm going to
I gotta
move
do
on.
this. Kristen can do
Twitch-
it with a straight face.
Yeah, I know.
Can't.
Twitch is the entire Twitch has been leaked, including source code and all that. Very interesting regular expression
The
have been
very
shared
No, the weird thing is why the source code includes the user payout information.
yes, interesting as well.
No, it's not really. It's not even like a summary of the payment for them to mock. It's actually
Yeah.
very detailed payout.
Yeah, correct. So I do not know why. To be honest, I cannot second guess the perpetrators.
That's the
username.
I probably need to check Hacker News on whether there's an update on. But that's the one that really made me curious.
But there's no indication of login detail exposed, but the source code are exposed. And it also shows like how much people do make. There's a revenue that Chidong said just now.
They reset all the stream key.
Yeah.
And also to be safe, just change the password. And also and if you have 2FA, also reset your 2FA.
Correct. But one reason why you may have the payout information is it shows the channel where you get money from and all that.
No, it's very detailed, like every month.
Okay.
It's literally log. It's literally like logs. If you have access to the data, it's very detailed. You don't actually need that for the UI.
Yeah. So if your head account Twitch, do the right thing, reset.
So it's possible they have like the monolithic application. So that does both the Twitch service itself plus the admin area plus the accounting portions.
Or they actually cache the data as so that they have to process it again. I don't know.
Okay, so the next two I'm going to be going quickly. So WebGoat is yet another insecure web application for you to learn security, and this is actually maintained by OWASP, which is actually topic of today. So this for application purpose.
It's a best practice for the bad practices.
Correct. So you learn the wrong thing so that you know the right thing.
See, exactly. See, it says run using Docker. That's already the thing.
Yes. Next one is Google had a cloud control API which have API access to all third-party services. It just make your API code easier. How much I do not know, but it's there. So next one, this is the big one. This is the second big one. So Facebook actually it's something that we already know. So it's already know, but you have more evidence. So
it's just that you finish.
So it's about Facebook know the harm of social media and use something to prioritize engagement versus safety and whatnot.
They conducted a lot of research that gave them the result that we expected. It just proves out our hypothesis.
Yeah, so it's more evidence. But this is not something I want to talk about. This one. So essentially what happened is Facebook operations are doing maintenance as a result.
I think they did it right. You should always test your code in production.
So what happened is
in this case, it's testing the config, not testing the code.
Yeah.
Even better.
So to test the code,
but they did it right also. They did it on Monday, not Friday.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So they're actually using BGP to actually take down all of your servers so that they can test it. But as some of the certain set of configuration does, they had an automated chat that did not work for the config area that they have. So as a result, they take down a big chunk of social media.
And surprisingly, they locked themselves out of a lot of the services as well.
Correct.
Including the building access.
Yeah.
Is this what happens when you ship config as code?
No, it's more like a short answer is yes. Short answer is yes. Long answer is this is what happens when you only rely on config without any other backup to access your system.
Well, it's a centralization of configuration, I think, is the.
Yeah, correct. So even
though if it falls down,
it's literally move up, break things, right?
Yeah. So in this case, even though the system is multiple machine, but because it's centralized under a DNS.
Yeah. I think they centralized because of to save the. I remember they centralized everything because they want to cut the cost.
Correct.
But I think
because those IPs and all that are expensive, so you might as well just do it. So what is really interesting for me for this is, I have a community of developers that do not understand how network work, what is BGP, how does misconfiguration of BGP can take down the system, and how does it impact DNS. So that's an interesting thing for me. I think Okay, but the disclaimer is I used to be a network operator. I work in CDN, so I know it. But
That you scan the whole internet, right?
yeah. So, but I think it's something that we need to teach the young generation. But that's another thing.
Oh, this is new. I didn't know.
Oh yeah, this is new. This today's news. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a ransomware script that target. This is the virtual
Yeah, this is bad. This
yeah,
one.
this can be
VMware.
bad. VMware. If you're not on VMware, you probably fine. But many of the services
Enterprise,
are on,
big companies are all on VMware.
Yeah.
correct. So this is a big deal. This is scary.
Python.
So
But is
check the
this
machine.
escalation from inside the VM, or
Yep.
is it the
So,
server that's being
Access
attacked?
the root lah.
Yeah.
No, so that means it breaks out of the VM?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, from
Correct. They're attacking the hypervisors.
No, yeah, so this is
So-
different than if you're attacking the hypervisor, it's different from like
Okay,
someone
let's
like
go down at the
inside
title. I
the
didn't.
VM. Because that's a vulnerability in the
But
ESXi itself, not on
Yeah.
the server that's hosting ESXi.
correct.
So it's a configuration error. It's not supposed to be not common or something.
They exploit this error. They exploit. I think it probably common enough to
It
be
requires
used.
certain configuration in order for this to work.
Yeah, correct.
Mm.
Correct. Yeah, move on. Facebook disappeared again. This is the Conflict blog had a very good explanation.
And they make a post about education about how BGP work.
BGP
Yeah,
is Brazilian green pesos. Just in case you didn't know.
I thought it's pesto.
Disclaimer: we are not a channel that promote disinformation.
Too late for that now.
Yeah. We fire Tristan if he say anything after this. All right. Google is paying developer to make open source program more secure. So these are
There's known already, right? Their bounty system, right?
No. I think this is extra. This is the extra thing on top of that.
Yeah, I think this one is outside projects, not Google stuff.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
They're funding like the foundation something like that lah.
Correct.
Open Source Security Foundation.
Correct. So it's not just Project Zero.
Nice.
Yeah, that. So it's something extra
Yeah.
on top of whatever they have done.
Probably stuff that they use.
Yeah, correct. So Python 3.10 is out. So you got pattern recognition. You got length checking to zip. Then you have
This pattern recognition is not regex, right?
No, this is the FP pattern matching lah that everybody wants.
Is it the?
Uh,
It's like the JavaScript. What is that again?
No, I don't think JavaScript has it yet.
No,
Yeah, like Haskell or
Is-
Rust, they have it.
the Elixir one. As
Yeah,
well.
No,
Elixir
it's this one.
Elixir has it.
yeah, match case.
Oh,
The pattern matching.
that looks like
Yeah,
Rust.
Yeah.
Mm.
So Python 3.10 is out. It's very new. Quite a few interesting things here.
The
So-
one that they improve, one of the most important thing for those that don't use it is that they improve the stack trace to be clear.
Oh yeah, this one. Correct. So this one. So
All those
now we have error.
stack trace errors are more precise.
That would
Correct.
be useful.
Yes. This actually the big hot thing compared to.
Yeah. They even
compared to
detect if
Python.
you have a block that was not finished, they will warn you properly at which level instead of just simple or something like that. Yeah.
So so now nobody can complain about this white space is bad. I'm moving on. Check out
Sorry,
Python
I didn't
3.10.
get your joke about white space.
No, everybody
Oh,
talk. I mean, one of the criticism of I think Ruby
No,
and
yeah.
Python also.
Yeah, I understand, but why is it now that nobody can criticize white space is bad? Because
Oh, now you have tools
better
to
stack
help
trace.
them now.
They
ah,
Now you
rely
have
on
tools to help.
curly brace as a block. I don't know.
yeah, okay. got it.
Indentation errors.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but the
No,
but the scoping for Python is still pretty weird lah. I mean,
Yeah, it's weird lah.
it's still in a
Well,
way.
You can't do
It's
continuation.
less. I guess it's less difficult now because if you have support from the language, right, from the error message.
Like let's say if you do it if right, the X if it's not declared outside right, it should not be available outside of the block. But in
Correct,
Python,
correct.
that's the case, lah.
Yeah, so suddenly, because if then suddenly it exists outside,
It's supposed
it
to
gets really weird.
it's supposed to have its own, or it shadow the another level one. But Python
Correct,
just
correct.
is local. It's local global, lah.
Yeah,
So there's something to get used to also sometimes.
correct. Okay, let's move on to the next one quickly. Secrets is not bank negara suspend secrets access to CTOS to access secrets. So now I can't do my credit score check.
What's the reason they do that? It's not
It's
reliable.
for security. It's for security actually.
Okay.
Data
Because
leak.
yeah, they talk about
Yeah.
data leak.
Especially for the big data leaks for the past few days, right?
Correct. So CTOS actually have access to a lot of your personal.
Does it imply that it came from these sources, like via CTOS, some of the data leaks?
That might. But no one from OWASP is saying. No one from CTOS is saying anything, and no one blames CTOS.
Hey, this big deal, That's their business,
Yeah.
Correct. It's a very big deal.
If they bank cut that off, die already. The company got no business already.
Correct.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Yeah,
So
but is this temporary or do they require
they claim
new
to be
things?
temporary. They claim to be
But-
temporary.
But getting back access, do they have to follow new rules or something, or like, okay, we're just
No, but-
suspending it and then you get access again?
No one said anything yet.
Mm.
They'll probably have to audit everything.
Correct. Then make new rules, and I hope this time, Bank Negara tends to do the right thing, and I hope they actually still do the right thing this time. So yeah, and also I kind of miss my credit report, so I don't check it every few months, but still.
Well, it's not like a lot of people are buying a lot of properties at the moment. So
Yeah, correct. So let's go on. Last week
You
we
said
covered.
about the Kickstarter, or are we doing
Oh
that?
yeah, Kickstarter. I forgot about my Kickstarter.
Your
Stupid project
Kickstarter?
day.
You
Yeah,
have a
Swimming
Kickstarter?
is doing a Kickstarter.
No, I'm not doing Kickstarter, but I backed some Kickstarter with some
Oh.
people agree that it's a little silly. I like
Tristan,
it. I don't care.
no misinformation.
Remember, this is for fun and not for necessarily useful. Okay, it's for fun and not necessarily useful. Hungry. So this is the new
No.
one that I backed.
What? Okay.
So this
Game
is
Boy
actually
keychain.
How?
it's not
It's a
practical.
Game Boy
It's not
keychain.
practical.
Oh my
How
god,
are you going
really?
How are you going to read that?
Yeah, it's not practical at all. It's totally not practical at all. But here's the interesting thing.
Yeah.
There's a visual web IDE for you to upload game.
Wow.
This one. It's built on RP 2040 processor.
What?
So you can use MicroPython and Arduino. Interestingly, then you have all the buttons. It's
Yeah,
not
but
practical at all, but
It's not
interesting.
usable for something.
Hey, can. I actually once got an intern of mine to work on a little game on a screen that's like 128 pixels and like 30 pixels or something like that, very small. So he made a side scroller. Jump.
I think you better. I think the site services should be cosmetic surgery to trim your nail to the finger
Yeah.
to be able to press them correctly.
Yo, it's so ridiculous. Look at this.
Yeah.
Wow. That's what I
Is
need
that
to say.
so?
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. But even that, you had an interesting enough display that not necessarily useful for game, but useful for other kind of display. So I find it interesting. It's programmable. You can upload data using in a way using USB.
How do you know, right? Probably there's gonna be an e-sport on a.
Yes. And you can do multiplayer.
No, you can sell accessories.
Yeah.
Big size holder.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be also another magnifier.
The magnifier.
But
4K,
so
4K
Water cooling would be good.
yeah.
RGB,
So-
LED.
Nitrogen RGB.
So I find this interesting. It's silly, I know, but I do
Yeah.
back it anyway. So just because.
I think it's quite cute.
Yeah, correct. So it's one of those things like it's small, it's impractical. I need it. Let's move on. So overall, last week we complained up to insecure design, right? Did we go to security misconfiguration?
And today we had a misconfiguration.
Yeah, let's
Facebook.
talk about configuration. Yes. So after big event. So what does it mean? It means that
The first thing that came in my mind, right, is the
uh-huh.
default config for MongoDB,
Hmm.
Oh
which they
yes.
listen
Default
to
account,
all
eh?
interface by
I
Yes.
don't know if
default.
they still do that. They should. Do they still
They
do
still
that?
that
They
because
were
it's a
really.
behavior that developer already rely on. It's
Mm.
very hard to change behavior.
Yes.
And all of the blog
Yeah.
posts, and whatever posting is like, this is.
Yeah, bad
They
behavior is
don't want
worse than
to.
bugs. You cannot fix them because they rely on it.
Correct.
Mm.
So it's like WordPress. WordPress, you had a default way to access the admin page, right?
Yeah.
So that to change is damn painful to make it hide that damn thing. Okay, it's actually damn annoying to do that. I'm not sure whether I do not know whether they actually changed that, but it used to be so annoying that first thing you do make sure that the slash wp admin or something is not as easily accessible. What else? There's so many. There's so many. This is actually one reason why we still don't use what's Linux the Linux security thing is called.
SE Linux, no.
Yeah, SE Linux. I mean, that is very complicated lah. It's so complicated. I think
It's
NSA
there for a
actually
reason, lah. There's some
Yeah.
use for it, lah.
correct, but I also think NSA purposefully make it complicated to make people forget about security.
Well, one of the
It's not
easiest
that
ways is just setting up IP tables, for example, and just
Yeah,
not
correct.
allowing, because if you have a network scan,
Yeah,
then you kind of can know, like, depending on what comes back, like what are the services for this this thing, or whether it's you're just being blocked, for example. But instead
Correct.
of properly setting up your network rules so that it just
Yes.
drops the packets as if it doesn't exist for the ones that you're not
Correct.
actually serving.
yes. But nowadays, it's a bit easier because it used to be like the default thing to do on the Linux machine is that actually allow root to do SSH. No, you can't do that anymore. So that's what. So it's getting better, but it's still there lah. Sometimes your router has some stupid configuration, default account. What else?
If you're gonna
So
talk about configuration, is the whole stack lah, like you say, the first line, all the way down to your,
Yeah,
physical layer.
correct.
If you need to talk about it, all the way
But it's
down.
not necessary. It's not necessary lah, because, for example, error handling with real stack trace. I still see a lot of those. So nowadays, my code actually is patching my flow, but I used to do that, but I know my way since then. So now I don't put error in my written code, only in log. Just return the code and that's it, right? So yeah,
whatever that is helpful, lah. Actually,
correct,
if
correct,
they need to know, then you can let them know, lah. Just
correct. But certain thing is not default. Like, for example, CSRF, course origins. I think that is default, even though that is only for browser.
no. I think the good thing is that browser are now they have a layer of things that make it harder these days.
Correct, correct.
When and especially when you they know that when you on this site try to access another site via another cookie, they have a mitigation of that.
Yeah. But if you look at the presentation, this is actually interesting. So, for example, had everybody top down to configure identically. This is where we have Docker. Never happened, by the way.
Yeah, but also you need to update your Docker as well.
Yeah, which goes to the next. I think to
Every developer has their own environment, man.
Yes.
Don't say different teams, lah. Every individual.
Yeah, Docker used to support Docker, and before that, Vagrant are supposed to solve that.
I think one thing that we adapt in for the organization also some open source quality is the reproducible build, lah. Even though it's not the same environment, but the production one should be rebuildable, lah, and also rebuildable by everyone.
Correct. Then review security updates. Who actually do that? Do we even have time to do that? I don't know.
Well,
Then
if you
we will-
subscribe to the GitHub depend about updates and your language is supported, then they will like email you, hey, you have a
Actually, it's
CVE,
framework
whatever.
as well. Actually, it's framework as well. NPM do that. NPM do that awesomely. Python don't do that, which is not so awesome. They do that at the installation level. So NPM had an audit feature, awesome.
I don't know. These days, I only use standard library for Python.
Yeah, yes.
So only need
Then-
to read the release notes.
But here's another one. Check configuration and all that. The cloud storage information. You know what?
Yeah.
AWS.
A lot of leaks happen that way, ma.
Yeah.
People archive their logs or whatever to the
Yeah, it's
S3
easy to
bucket, and
access.
then it's publicly accessible.
Just send it to public, right? So it's convenient. I think one service that is guilty for that is a Firebase real-time database,
Yes.
where we actually need to set the configuration to check the identity for data that, especially user data, like if people store user data in Firebase, but
Correct.
by default it's public to all, so it needs to be configured. It's just convenient. If for people it's just convenient, but a lot of the time the convenience, if people can found out about it, it's free real estate for everyone.
Correct. So if you have a sysadmin, get them to actually help you audit on that. If you don't have one, start take care of it. But I know developer is busy, so hire a sysadmin to do it.
Yeah, I also recently found out that one of the government service, very high scientific government service, they actually use the way they use one of the endpoint for the data is provided is a SaaS endpoint and it's not protected. Their website only checks your credential as a UI functionality only. It's not enforced by the backend.
Okay. Let's move to the next one. Vulnerable and outdated component. It used to be software components are expensive. So people had developed bad practice for it. Not anymore. Open source software means a lot of components are considered outdated.
It's just the expense is it's like conversion of mass and energy, right? They're the same, but they're different. So the expense here is about you you need to maintain the software on your end as well. Instead of like buying it from someone, you're expecting support from your vendor. But now because everything's open source and disclaim responsibility or whatever, now you have the responsibility and that's the expense on your end. Some people just think it's cost free.
Yes,
and it's very expensive if you have to keep updating every day. Then your system is never stable.
Yes.
You're forever on beta,
That's why we have certain stable distro that is boring, like Debian, or certain hardened version where they choose a version and do patches on it.
Correct. So nowadays we don't have to worry about component being expensive. Nowadays it's open source. It's easier to update it. There's no reason not to.
These days, even for desktop usage, right? Non-LTS is also like I have no time for non-LTS as well.
Correct.
Yeah,
the non-LTS stuff is for the young people who like to experiment.
Time.
Yes.
We have time every week to reinstall their operating system. Because they try.
And they can learn the hard way.
Yeah, that's the point. That's how we learn last time also.
Yeah.
But do not do this production, please.
Yes.
I actually had to explain to a junior, I think this week, that I told him specifically, anything that is tech alpha and beta and RC, please do not use them.
Yes.
I don't know, somehow the idea, the understanding of that is not there. Every release is a release for them.
Yeah.
Yes.
0.1.0 also.
Yeah. Beta is good enough.
But a lot of the open source one will never.
How often those reach 1.0?
I remember Nginx took quite a while to reach 1. So.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, 0.01 is a red flag.
But one thing that
in Rust it will be 0.1.0.
Yeah, correct. But one thing we don't commonly do is to scan for vulnerabilities. Because it used to be the tools that it's hassle to set up. I think now
the easy one are not hard to find. The hard one is that if you can pay, there's a lot of tools for it. It's the tools are mostly free, but the definition are not. So often
The
the
rules,
scanner,
the rules.
yeah, the rules, their findings,
Yeah,
their
correct.
years of research.
Correct. And also, also if your code is very unstable, then I can understand why updating the package is forever. Again, I'm guilty of that. Sina project has some code that didn't get updated forever, then it just get deleted.
Yeah,
Interesting.
but Sina project runs on a very stable OS, FreeBSD.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's a bad thing that the code is not, like, portions of your code is not updated since forever, because if it still works and it still does its function, then there's no reason to write it into Elixir, right?
I think what
Whatever.
this point is trying to make is that as you don't update your components even when they have security problems.
Yeah, correct. That's the thing that we don't
When
do.
the upstream releases a security patch, you don't update it because it's going to disrupt your whole base. Especially in the enterprise, they like to lock to a specific version. It can be bloody old, and they continue to use it even though
Correct.
it's full of bugs.
Yes.
Yeah. But as long as
It's
you know
a-
the behavior of that bug and you know what to expect, and that's the mitigation, right? It's a mitigation
Then-
strategy. If you know,
Normally they
don't
lock
click
down
on
the-
this button, then don't have anyone click on that button.
Normally they lock down the
Yes.
environment. That's how they
Yeah.
mitigate. They have
Correct.
a
That's why you had-
something.
That's why people pay for VMware, right? To lock down to isolate the thing.
They isolate
But
it.
then
Then
they
VMware
forgot-
now you can escalate.
Yeah, correct.
But
right?
if you are trying to interface with their system, then it might be headache because, like, especially for some newer languages with library that with a strict, newer definition of TLS support, then like if they use still on the MT5 SSL, then it can be painful for you also.
Yeah. But this is actually worse. It used to be a bit worse in the way that do you remember the time that somebody still used VP6?
I
VPC
think
is still in use. It's still in use.
Hey, this week, right? Not me, but Han was working on the update for Cold Fusion code for a customer. We had to interface with that.
And I'm sure there is out there somewhere there's a Windows 3.1 that's still running.
Uh,
Well,
I'm very
a lot
sure-
of,
Maybe not
I'm very sure there are plenty of MS-DOS machines still running as well.
we
no, not just
Yeah.
machines. Like the cache registers, a lot of cache registers are still running 3.1.
Yeah.
but
And it's not even
as long as they don't hook to
DDoS.
the internet, lah.
Yeah. Except those things had to hook to the internet because how else? I mean, if you're going to use supermarket, yeah, maybe. But if you use it on a bigger supermarket, then it's connected to the network somehow.
Well, yeah, it's connected to the network, not to the internet, most likely. Because at least in the restaurant that I was managing before, it does connect, but on a proprietary network protocol, like through
Yeah.
phone. So
VPN.
it calls in. Yeah.
Yeah, normally the proprietary one are not so secure.
Yeah,
one also.
that's how your ATM are secured for a while, lah. Because before
Or use a
before I-
VPN.
Yeah.
Yeah. But before VPN and all, they spend money on IP-based VPN and all that. They're using some proprietary protocol. That's how credit card works. The old credit card machine works. That's how ATM works before the internet. So yeah. So check your dependency. Use dependency checker. Use retire.js. This is new to me. I need to explore that. Check CVEs. Aware that CVE exists.
Very important. Even not even for things like go there and read, and you learn how to not make those mistakes, lah. Especially like the
Correct.
one that we covered last week, like path traversal, those things like
Correct.
that.
So aware of it and learn as much as you can. So let's
Sorry,
move
can you
next
go to
one.
the example for attack scenarios? At least we know.
So the first one is Struts 2 had a code number and
It's literally just patch the system.
yeah, correct.
What is why
IoT device, this no lah because your ESP8266 is damn hard to patch. I'm sorry lah. So that thing.
Well, yeah,
should be-
especially if it's
that's
like
the-
all in a very remote location, like on the ceiling, embedded in one of the pillars. How are you
IoT.
gonna
That's why
patch that?
IoT is for those that botnet operator, they like it.
Correct. So some bot operator that are targeting Linux machine. That's
And also
and
like
the Linux machine.
some of them, some of the consumer grade IoT, they have a call home feature that they don't
Yeah.
validate against.
Correct.
So and they have a like command, like it's easily. I mean, if you do a man in middle or something like that, or you just do a DNS hijack, you can easily issue commands to some of the devices.
Correct. So IP security camera is very popular, but this is the one of the biggest target, lah.
Yeah. Even
So
the
be
Amazon
careful.
one cut it last year, right? The one that talked
Correct.
to the children, right?
Correct. So Shodan is a popular tool for this kind of thing. In fact, Shodan was used to be popular because you can look at IP cameras around the world. Scary, lah.
Yeah, for those.
Speaking of man in the middle, there's actually one product, an IoT product, where in order to configure that, you have to run what do you call this, a network, and change your DNS or something because it connects to a DNS. You actually have to do a man in the middle attack to configure the product so that it will connect to the correct network.
Correct.
So I was thinking, this is
nice.
not legalizing, but
No, I'm gonna do anything.
No, exploiting an attack in order to do something good.
yeah.
Yes.
I was surprised. Like these are the instructions to actually set your network so that it becomes like it will copy the configuration of what that product was expecting until you can configure it properly. So yeah,
Correct.
it's interesting.
So on the previous one, there's actually a list of tools. You should double check those for your application.
Yeah,
So
the
this
one
one
that
is,
this one is the one that I covered just now. So we check the service actually check for the identity on the UI side only.
correct. So this one is automated attack. So this check your API service, brute force attack, common. So then weak password, for goodness sake. I know password is still easily guessed. Use a password manager to manage it, for fuck's sake. I'm sorry, but yes.
Yeah, I don't even remember my password because I'm on password manager now.
Yeah. Then please do not share. When there's internet they try to mine your security question, put some stupid answer. Don't put your actual answer, please.
And
Facebook
and something a lot of people are still missing out is that people are still enforcing all sorts of weird password rules.
Correct.
Uppercase, lowercase, combination numbers and
I think the biggest
actually,
sinner is the maximum password size, like 20.
Yes.
Oh, it should be a secure password, but you can only have 20 characters.
yeah, exactly.
And you need a symbol and a number, so you put like exclamation point and 1 at the end of your old password.
And also you have to
it's
key your
fine.
password on a virtual keyboard.
Yeah.
that
Yeah, and you can
everybody
copy
see.
paste. It's like why?
Oh, cannot copy paste. That one terrible, man.
Yeah. Not using
that was
multi-factor.
annoying.
This is actually unfortunately too common because not on our priority. But we should try as much as possible because library already exists. TOTP-based library already exists to make it. That is a bit harder to use, but it exists for you to do multi-factor authentication.
Yep.
Then if you're not willing to trust that Auth0 and all that, provide libraries to make your life easy. Twilio. Okay, and recently.
Most of this only happen if people homebrew their own security.
Correct. But multi-factor authentication is not as common out in the project that I see lah.
Because it's inconvenient. Like it's all about balancing user convenience and security. That's the thing. That's a problem, right? Like you can, like for example, like DaVinci Resolve to buy the software, you can opt for a license key, which you just like paste, or you can get a dongle. The dongle is more secure because the software will only work with the dongle, but it's very inconvenient because if you lose it or you forgot it at home and then you go to the office, then you can't use the software. And so many people just go for the license key, which is easier, but albeit like less secure.
Correct. So, but library exists. Look at those libraries, then start learning those. Because, for example, even Twitter had an SMS based. Even though we said SMS based two-factor is can be dangerous, but it exists. The point is, it exists. In fact, you remember our Merdeka episode. We have get OTP service. So library exists. Start learning about them for multi-factor.
Authentication is hard. Don't do your own.
Correct. Don't do your own. Session identifier. This is rare, but I know this exists.
This is only like if you homebrew stuff lah.
Correct.
The second one also like we use session identifier. This is deliberately. I mean, even if you use the library, all of them outside they wouldn't reuse. Like you have to really homebrew it.
Correct. So you actually have to use library whenever you can.
The last one is the common scene that was common people that especially some people are front end developers. I don't want to shit on them too much, but is that JWT tokens should be validated first before the data is being written. I mean being read lah. And
that's the first thing that you need to do. Validate the payload before you actually read the payload.
Do not bloody cache it lah.
Do something.
Yes.
No, so the last one, that last point is about invalidation, like expiration, basically. Because sometimes if you don't have expiration, as long as you hold a valid token, then you can request any resource for that token, even if that user is basically like practically deleted, because you have a session token, you can just like.
That's why like for the token often is the lifetime is very low, like 1 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Correct. So don't go crazy over it, please.
Yeah. So you can always like refresh the token. Like so, and this is why you should not homebrew your things, because all of these authentication have these things. Refresh, like set times for expiration. They've already figured things out. Don't repeat the whole process and homebrew your own thing, because you'll end up with the same conclusions anyway. Or most likely
if you know what you're doing,
and it's less secure.
I actually spent several years working on nothing but authentication when I was with the government. So yes, don't do your own.
Yeah.
Correct. Unfortunately, the government, I don't want to say that. Yeah, let's not go there.
Let's not go there. Just use what's there.
Yes. There's a lot of help that actually help you. For example, NIS had a document for you to read. I know you hate reading.
NIS is a very they have a lot of good resources.
And it clearly states there, do not enforce some stupid password policy.
Yes.
Do not enforce any password policy. That's what it says there.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, no uppercase, lowercase, numbers, special characters. No.
And if your project manager is saying, please do that, now you have a link to actually give them like, hey, look.
Or you can invite him to the show. We're gonna do an interview with him.
Yeah.
So the attack scenario here is like non-password. We have a lot of those nowadays. Because people tend to use default password. Their own default password.
Well, yeah. For this attack though, that you can. So this is with the IP tables thing as well. This is about failed authentications, and you just keep on accepting failed authentications without any like step off or like mitigation or delay of the logins, because with a dictionary, what they call this, a list-based password attack.
Dictionary attack.
If you have like 1 million of those and then you can finish it in 1 minute, then like you just save the attacker a lot of time. And they're more likely to use a bigger dictionary in the end.
Yeah,
but if
that's why always use sort lah. So that
I kind of recall somewhere someone did some research to show that you don't even need 1 million dictionary size. You only need 50, and that or something like that. It's a very small number, and it already covers a vast majority of the most commonly used passwords.
Yeah.
Already.
Correct. So to help this is actually help the family to set up a password manager.
Oh, I'm the password manager.
But don't lose the password to your password manager, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
actually lost it once, but luckily
it's
there's a
written on the
forget password
whiteboard
feature.
in the.
Oh, that is a lousy password manager. That is a lousy password manager.
Yeah.
If you can recover your passwords, it's not a good one.
No, forget password. You can reset it. Forget, and also something that I actually still being requested for it, but it's something that I deny. I mean, I'm just reject outright. Is that for those that request you to be able to recover your passwords via email,
Yeah,
something
don't do
that's a
that.
bad idea. You
Don't
should
do that.
always give them a link to reset their own the new one.
Yeah.
I don't care
Yeah.
what sort of new password you set up, 12356 or whatever, but yeah. It's not
A
so
very
we're not supposed
important
to
feature of a good password manager is you must not be able to recover your passwords if you lose
Yep.
it.
Yeah.
So once you lose your password, everything's gone. Now that is the proper password manager. If they allow you to reset or recover it in some other way, it is not a proper password manager. Because that means
I mean
that they know your password.
not password manager. I mean password, normal password, account
Ah,
password.
okay,
Yeah,
normal
yeah,
password.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
The one that I lost were because there's no way to recover it. I had to
Yeah.
forget password for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember one of the applications I worked on before. They insisted that the user be able to recover the password back, because apparently the audience are like old people that they expect to like, I don't remember my password, and it's the same password for everything. This is like 2011, 2012, like the old
Yeah.
days when before security things. But even though that
Yeah,
happens,
everything was still in
nowadays it's that excuse doesn't run anymore. Like,
Yes.
yes, don't allow recovery of password, because the implication of that is that you're storing the passwords
Somewhere.
in a recoverable form, either encrypted or plain text or something. It's not a hash form, and so that means there's like, it's a bidirectional conversion. And so once your database gets hacked, then you, like, everyone's passwords is recoverable. So that's
Thank you
the
very much.
biggest implication.
Tell me
there.
whoever that implement that. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'll just
I think a friend
I'll
of
just go
Commit.
there to do research.
No, because one developer will just say, "Oh, we'll just encrypt this. It's the same as hashing it," but it's very different.
Hashing in one way, and also sorted. Hashing is still like you can still do a dictionary lookup.
Mhm.
Rainbow tables.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sorting it make it hard.
Yeah. You know what? I
Well,
can't
it
find the
makes it
comment
hard,
anymore.
but it's like, if you're still using MD5, then as long as you know the salt, then
And people is open to public.
Salted is also
Yeah.
not recommended anymore.
Correct.
Salted is also no longer recommended anymore.
So
Use a
let's move on.
proper password key delivery. PKDF.
Correct.
Yep.
So the next one is software and data integrity failures. So this one is about this is when you get modules
This is
from
the one that why supply chain attack work, right? Because
correct,
don't validate.
correct.
Yeah, insecure
Nowadays-
CI/CD pipeline. Oh yeah.
You know what? Something that really scared me is that like if you're using Windows, like those especially those like motherboard utility and stuff, right?
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah, I mean those
Randomly
updates usually
downloaded.
like I'm not sure
Yeah.
they really check the validity of those updates.
no, but we covered it in one of the episodes, right? The Razer mouse,
Yeah.
which
no.
downloads
Okay.
something and then you can hijack it. Like basically, if I'm an attacker, I plug in a Razer USB,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
hijack the installer that pops up. Then now I have system privileges because that installer runs as a system.
The other day, my wife bought a Ethernet dongle, USB one. When you plug it in, it pops up an installer, right? Which is technically supposed to install the driver. I took the installer, I sent it to Virus Total, and it was like boom, 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 confirm virus. So I was like, wow. Yeah. So but it wouldn't work otherwise. So I had to go and download those drivers myself manually and install it. And it was some random Chinese website somewhere. I have no idea.
It's as long as the
No,
chipset,
actually-
as long as the chipset is the same, it should support that, right?
Yeah. But the installer that it came with, that one is basically a virus.
Yeah.
CCP will thank you.
Oh, so speaking of CI/CD, so Swimming, that you might be interested in this. If your Rails application during deployment
Yeah.
downloads or bundles the gems on the server, then you're already vulnerable to a supply side attack, because
Yeah.
technically you should not be compiling things on the server, like downloading sources and compiling things there. But the default deployments usually for Ruby on Rails applications, and again, this is the same as the MongoDB, like people are used to having it, but they don't understand the security implications. It's that you'll bundle it on the server, and then you compile like native code on the server as well, which means if you're downloading from there, you have a supply chain attack.
Yeah.
Instead of just bundling all or vendoring your gems or whatever libraries you have, and then pushing
but you'll be
known
so big.
good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but you have
It
to
is,
nowadays. You have no choice. But
What I mean, so that's the thing. There's a lot of choice, but people just think that this is the way it is because that's how it was in 2010.
Don't
No,
use
but I mean-
dependencies. Write all your code from scratch. Solve all these.
Your standard library.
Yes.
Your standard
what I'm saying that is you
So-
should start rendering things nowadays.
standard
because
library.
You should start rendering things and all that. But it used to be also, that people are building software on a Mac machine but deploy on a Linux machine, right? So that's
Uh,
those days.
I
Why don't you
really
why
don't
don't you
know
just
why
develop
Mac
on a
was,
Linux machine?
exactly like why people insist on having a Mac,
I mean,
Because
or,
it's fancy.
or at least just
No,
run a
nowadays
virtual
it's
machine, right?
easier.
no, even
Now-
you can
nowadays
you
you
can
got
do
Docker.
development
Docker
on
is a Linux
via
machine.
Docker easily as well. That's what I did
Yeah,
also.
exactly.
That is a Linux machine now, so there's no reason.
But Docker itself is a
for that
potential
anymore.
supply chain attack.
No, I mean you
I mean,
use
you
it
have
as
to be
an
very
environment to I mean like on Mac you can use Docker to build your stuff,
Yeah.
Linux stuff.
Correct.
like a
on
without having
Windows-
to-
on Windows is the same.
If you say-
On Windows is the same.
If the excuse is they don't have access to a Linux machine.
Yeah, correct.
The best way to fix this is just code in production directly on your production server.
Yes.
No
Yes.
supply chain attacks.
like back in the old days, FTP. FTP the CGI in.
Code directly on your production server, debug directly on your production
yeah,
server.
exactly.
Yes.
And I think it's what you call it, zero downtime for server updates as well.
Yes. You know why I learned algorithms? So that I can write everything from scratch.
Not
Okay,
just zero
let's move on
downtime, it's
because-
real-time server updates. That's
Ah,
what real-time
real-time
server
updates.
updates are called about.
So this is interesting. Actually, I know we had a lot of stuff because we logged too many things, but we also need those things. So we need to be very careful about our logging.
It's not even for this. It can be for performance, behavior, or what you call it, edge cases lah. Capture those
Correct.
things.
You know what? I also afraid. I do not know how safe is tracing when it comes to this.
But I think the question here is we log a lot, but are the logs that we log valuable in this case?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
correct.
because quite often we just log a lot of stuff and it's completely useless when
those
something actually
are what
happens.
Yes, those are what we call the just in case log, right? Just in case we need it.
correct.
Yeah. Just in case.
And then when something
So-
actually happens, we can't find out what happened
Yeah.
because we didn't log the stuff.
And sometimes you don't even know how to access those logs. Like for example, if you're running
Yeah.
GCP, like it logs everything basically on your GCP thing. Like even even non-applications related, like the routing, etc. And it takes some skill to actually figure out how to filter to drill down to your application. And sometimes
That's why
when
they are
something
selling you
happens,
another
just don't
product,
know how to
right?
do
I
it.
remember.
Yeah, that's the
Correct.
stack driver thing.
Big
which
big
they're charging
table,
now.
stack driver.
Yeah.
Correct.
So, yeah, you have logs, but if you can't access them when you need it, it's useless. So
So the point of this is actually that you log the right way, log the right thing, but do not overlog.
Log the
And
right. Yeah. Log one
Limit
is
the access to the logs.
because and for me after a few time of trying to support customer issues, like some of the problem they had might sound really ridiculous, like might not happen in the production at all, but with but not via this lah, not via logs, like, but it's similar via metrics. We see that there were some anomaly during
Yeah.
that. Then because the symptom is there, so it gave us some pointers on how to check for the cause of the anomaly.
Correct. So also here they also say a few things like use some log management system. These things are graphite around that, so you format your logs properly. This to help you discover the context of log, because we often get a lot of logs if things happen. So this actually happens.
That's
So,
why in the
yeah, you can
security
control the
sector,
type of log.
logging is a big thing, right? Splunk is a big product.
Correct. So so do your log properly. Don't overdo it. Don't underdo it.
If you don't read your
And-
logs, you probably don't need it.
Yeah. Don't homebrew
Yeah,
your
correct.
log format, basically.
Please don't. Use Logger, and use library. The libraries actually help you format your logs and all that. So, and again, we look, see, Logstash
Yeah, cannot detect. Anomaly detection.
Yeah, correct. So
Often there are platforms like even if you do logs, like for example, Kibana, you can
Yeah.
have a summary, and also you can set a warning system lah, if a certain
Correct.
anomaly happen. But it's pretty
No,
heavy lah.
Correct. By default, AWS do have logging for your serverless and server application. Use it. That is just a start. That is just a start, right? That is just a start.
Yeah.
Because they help you limit who can access the log.
This thing doesn't mean that we have to scroll to the log. It means that we have to process it in a way lah.
Yeah,
Well,
correct.
So speaking of more logs, this is also about your requests, right? If
Yeah.
you're validating or sending username passwords on a GET request, most likely it's logged.
Yeah.
So don't
Yeah,
do that
correct.
because, well, again, another application I worked on, I was like doing an audit, and I was wondering why are these look like usernames and passwords, because I was just like looking, okay, these are Nginx logs, and then it turns out that the way the the submit box works is to actually do a GET request, even though it's not on the URL, but it goes into the, like, it doesn't look like a GET request because the library like abstracts out the thing, so you do an API something, but it's a GET, which of course turns out to be a URL thing in the end, right, as it's sent there. So be very careful with your HTTP verbs, because you might be logging accidentally, even if the application does not log it, but then your web server is going to be logging it. So
Correct.
yeah, be careful with that.
Correct. So this logging. A lot of tools are really suggested in the OWASP website.
Yep, deny by default. Please do not use or interface by default. No, down
So
there.
this server side.
This is something new.
No, actually, it's not that new. Let's say you.
I mean, new to the top 10. New to the top 10.
Yeah. New to the top 10. Correct. We already know that because sometimes we just put URL and we just execute the URL. It's not as
Particularly dangerous for microservices.
Yeah, correct.
One service calls another service, and ping ping, you are crafting those URLs on the fly, and
Correct.
wow, a
Uh,
lot of interesting things can happen.
Nice.
yes.
If you're
So-
running if this then that on your production server, just so that you can easily transform data from one place to another, then yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So yes. So in my case, I need to be careful about this as well because the SINA project. The DevKami bus corner maker. You might have to do this kind of thing, so I need to be very careful about it. But it goes like this: if let's say you build microservices, really make sure that your application URL is that.
You can validate the signature as well. If it's
Correct.
HTTPS, you can do
Correct.
certificate pinning and something like that.
Correct.
Assuming that
Do the
that is not
extracting.
compromised.
Yeah, correct. Do the extracting and make sure that it's not a man and video thing. So do your security check, limit your access, limit to access to the type application. For your microservice especially, if you don't have to do a sudden external API call to download stuff, but don't allow
I mean,
this.
most likely you need it. That's why the functionality is there, right?
That's
Yeah.
how
But
government system they control things lah. In a way, sometimes even though some of them might be outdated because all the ins and out are controlled. So
correct.
a lot of it's denied by default lah.
Yeah, correct. So
This is called security through obsolescence.
yeah,
Use if possible, send you the data by paper.
correct.
Hey, they
but-
hey, they literally send you data in PDF gladly.
Yeah.
Uh,
So this mostly network security thing lah. So be very careful on that. So yeah.
yeah.
I think
Basically,
that's
like
about it.
it's similar to some of the RCE things. To not allow the part of the request, the payload. I mean, you can. I mean, within the payload, you can craft the destination. Like
Yeah,
I want to
correct.
access it from another host. Like
Correct. So with that said, go to OWASP, the top 10, learn from it. It's good for you. Learn from it and make sure you apply
yeah,
your
NIST is
semester.
pretty nice as well. The
Correct.
NIST CVE, good to go there to have a look sometimes as well.
CWE as well.
Yes.
What's CWE?
Co-
Common
Common weakness enumerations.
weakness.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
yeah,
common weakness enumerations.
learn some security because I know some big name Malaysian startup already humiliate ourselves. Big name company already humiliate themselves. So don't be a statistic, please. I do not want to see your name, your company name on the headline.
It's,
Yeah,
it's
The difference though is that if you're a big name, then you're a bigger target. So that's a
Yeah, correct.
different thing. Because once you're in the sights of attackers, it's quite like you need to just be more careful, not just like
Yeah.
the usual security. Of course, the first thing is to be careful in the first place, like to have general security. But once you're in
Yeah.
the sights of attackers, then that's where, like, once you become a big name, like you really need
Yes.
to step up your security game.
Correct.
And the risk is by then it's too late. So security needs, if your basic infra basic architecture is already insecure, by the time you grow to a big company, you become a target, it's a bit too late to fix it already.
or it's too big to fix already.
Too big to fix it. Then
So-
so you have to build it from the start actually.
Yeah.
Like
Which is
I don't know
also
how
not
the,
global. If you're big, it's a catch-22.
like for example the Twitch leak. I don't know exactly how it leaked, but one possible scenario is because we're doing work from home, and so now you have to develop the Twitch site, right? The Twitch application. It's on a laptop. Someone went out. Laptop gets stolen.
I think it's the
I'm not saying
weakest
this is
link
what
issue
happened in
lah.
Twitch, right? Yeah, but you'll see, for example, some of the projects that we're working on in my company, you might have access to things, but you have to go through a bastion in order
Yes.
to so you VPN and then you VPN again from that, and that's where
Correct.
you control the things. So from the beginning, that's already how things are, and so even if, let's say, you get access to a laptop, you still can't get access to the servers because you have to go through the bastion, which then you can say, okay, I lost my laptop, then cancel the access from the bastion itself. So there are
Yeah.
many things that you can already do starting from when you're still small until you become big name. It's a lot easier to change the mentality, or
Correct.
like at least
Correct.
add more security to the mentality.
Yes. So with that said, I think we may cover this sooner, a bit further to the future. Maybe we actually show our practice.
Hey,
To be honest, I'm not good at
we have
this
a
yet.
topic we can run. One of the things you mentioned, like do you need to learn backend programming?
Maybe the answer is maybe, but that's a bit.
The
further.
answer is Firebase.
Yeah. So with that said, next week.
Okay.
I was next week. Okay, so
What is
two
that? Is that a
disclaimer.
new COVID test?
Two disclaimer. First, this is actually a review device given by Seed Studio for free. So this given to me before review. And you know what? We're out of content, so I might as well just review it on DevKami.
And you got it also.
And also,
You
I
shouldn't
got to
say
put-
that on air. People give you the thing to review, must say very nice things.
But I'm actually pretty impressed. I'm pretty impressed with this device in a way that it had connectivity, it had display, it can run TinyML on it. So the capability in paper is actually very nice, which is I'm happy to actually play with it, and more importantly, I get to keep it. So
Hashtag
the
not
capability is very
sponsored.
interesting. So yeah, no. So C Studio only give me the device for review, but the opinion is still on my own. So so we're going within maybe next week we'll talk about this and see what I have had on it lah. Then I need to borrow this to Parascript to actually see what he can do on it. So maybe it's a two-part on the. It may be a two-parter, but it's like one part here, then delay, then one.
Can it run JavaScript?
Actually, it's
Well, most-
potentially possible.
Yeah, but most likely I'm not going to do it on the microcontroller. Because I saw it has Raspberry Pi
Correct.
headers, so most
So you
likely
can run
I'll go
Linux.
that route. Well, you
No,
run Linux on Raspberry Pi and then you use it as a slave
Display.
device.
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct. So this thing has some sensor and has some display. So one of common use for it is as a display, which I think, yes, the microcontroller are meant to drive that, but it can do a bit more thing. So
Well, it depends on how much memory it has. I did manage to boot Linux on a Cortex M7 before. This is an M4. It's not very much different. You might be able to boot Linux on it.
Hmm.
so, but this is like a 32 megabit of flash, very possible.
32?
32.
So that
full.
is
Oh,
4
32.
megabytes. Oh, that's enough.
Yeah.
The device I had only had 2 megabytes. 2 megabytes of flash.
Okay.
Cortex M7.
Can it boot Emacs?
I only managed to boot the kernel up to the what do you call it, the init.rd, and that's it.
Okay.
Since
Possibly cannot run.
Sean is playing with Rust recently, right?
Oh,
Maybe that too.
Have you managed to do anything with kernel related stuff with Rust? Since it's some of the things that people like to do when they start learning Rust.
I've not done anything kernel related with Rust, and I actually take the position that it's a very bad idea to bring Rust into the kernel. That's my position. My
You want to talk
personal
about it?
position.
You want to talk?
Yeah.
Well, not now, right? We're finishing already, right?
Yeah. That's the week after next week, maybe.
Yeah. Also,
So
I want to
that's
comment
it.
this comment. There are a lot of this one you have to check it out also lah. Not all this encryption are good. Yeah, some
Yeah, correct.
updated one.
Correct. So with that said, next week we will do this thing. I will do the unboxing. I'm sorry. So thanks for listening. I hope you had a good weekend.
for listening.
If you're Malaysian, you can watch